Hey guys, welcome to Life After Work. Solomon here. As I had committed to in a previous video, in 2017 I want to try to get a couple of threads out. One, my modeling thread for working on the New Jersey or whatever other model I start, and the other one for my railroads, and in this case the rebuild of the Bumblebee. So I don't know how I'm going to be able to live up to that. I have already got another New Jersey out. I'm still working on it. I'll get another video out on it soon, but right now we're back on the Bumblebee rebuild. But I thought I'd do it a little bit different this time. This is my second time to do this, by the way. Still having trouble with my microphone, and even though I remember to turn it on, it wasn't recording, so I lost a lot. But what I'm going to try to do is cover probably two videos fairly close together. And this first one's going to be the economics of large scale modeling, but it applies to all scales of modeling for people who would like to get into the railroad hobby, but look at the price of trains and cars and track, etc., and kind of get scared off. I started in 2006 thinking I was going to do a garden railroad. I think I've told you this before. I bought a lot of stuff on eBay. I got it all real cheap because I didn't want to make a big investment. I wanted to get it as cheap as I could, figuring I could fix anything. And I was going to run it through the yard anyway. What the heck? Why worry too much about it? Well, I never did follow through with that because, well, work conditions. I went overseas, did a bunch of stuff. Now I've got it all back out. Now I'm taking the next step, and that's upgrading all my trains. Well, 2006 is 11 years ago now. And a lot of these trains were secondhand and old with a lot of damage and oddball pieces having problems, etc., when I got them. So I'm going to say, just as a rule of thumb, they're 15 years old minimum. Well, 15 years old, obviously the technology involved in them is way behind the times. I told you before, I bought a chassis for the Bumblebee, all new. It's ready for DCC, ready for sound, ready for everything. It's all the latest based on the anniversary version of the 460s. So it's a huge upgrade. Well, I want to get into the economics of that, but I'm going to start off with how I bought some of these. And I'm going to first go to my favorite loco, and because it exemplifies the best and worst cases that you can get into. And I'll try to explain some of the economy around buying that. But let me take you over there to it right now. I'll reset the camera, and we'll talk about my Deadwood Central. All right, here we are. This is Deadwood Central. Now, this is a highly detailed, really for the time, a high-tech locomotive. It was top of the line. I'm not 100% sure what the scale is. It could be a 120.3, but it may be the largest of the G scales. All I know, it's extremely detailed. If you look, for instance, down here at all the drives, these are all metal, highly detailed, just really good quality. Now, I told you that I paid $30 a locomotive. I'll clarify that, but the first thing you need to know is just how big this scale is. And here it is. I'm going to set this is a yardstick, which is just 3 inches short of a meter, okay? And that shows that the locomotive and the tender alone are about 33 inches. And with just one logging car behind it, it's closer to 40 something inches. Okay. Well, that's a large locomotive and consists. Now, I have 4 of those skeleton logging cars. That's important. You need to know that. So, what does all that mean? Well, let's go over here and sit down and talk about it. Okay, when I put the Deadwood Central on a test stand, and that was just a few pieces of track at the time and some rollers, and I cranked it up to see how it didn't run. It didn't run because the wheels didn't turn, but the motor was running. So what does that mean? Very good chance that the gearbox was damaged. Now, I can go on Bachmann and buy a whole gearbox. I can go on Bachmann and buy an entire electric motor with a brass gear on it, and I'm sure that one's got a brass gear. That is a high-end locomotive. It costs well over $1,000 to buy a new one, and I haven't even been able to find a new one yet, and it's not listed in the catalog. It's G scale. It's not 20.32. I don't think. That's why I'm really wanting to find one, so I can get a dimension off of it and find out if it's the 20.32. But it's a very fine, very detailed, very well built locomotive. Possibly mistreated because I'm having, the front's loose on it. At the smoke box, that whole piece is loose. The top on the cab has been pulled apart some, which means they just grab the top of the cab and they pick it up. Well, it's a very heavy locomotive. I'm going to bet that locomotive is almost 3 kilo. Certainly between 2 and 3 kilo. I haven't weighed it, but it has to be 2.2 pounds a kilo for you guys that don't work in kilos. So what is it worth me having that locomotive for $14? Do I need it? No. Do I want it? Oh, hell yes. That's a beautiful loco. So I will get to that probably immediately after upgrading the Bumblebee. Now, prices. I have a hand scanner. I went over and scanned the catalog. I'll show you. I'll put it up here. And I will show you the current price for one of these skeleton cars. If you look at the fact that I got 5 of them with logs, this train's been paid for several times over. So the economics there are very good. So if you go on eBay, if somebody says, I don't know anything about trains, I got this in an estate sale, ask questions. Now, why ask questions? They've already said they don't know anything about them. Make them answer the questions specifically, and then always read the questions and read the answers. I specifically on this, it's been a long time, but I think the question I asked, are you sure it doesn't run? I didn't ask, does it run? I said, are you sure it doesn't run? And they came back and said, we have no idea if it runs or not. Now, everybody else that reads that question and reads that answer, you think they're going to go out there and bid $300, $400, $500 for this locomotive and the cars and the tender? They may do like I do and say, well, the skeleton cars with logs are worth a good bit of money each. So I bid a price basically for one skeleton car. It scared everybody else off, believe it or not. That was one of my better ones, by the way. It really came through like a champ. I got it. I have it now. And if you look at the price for parts, it's well worth it. I mean, for $14 for that locomotive, I can afford to spend even $100 for parts. $114 for a locomotive that's worth hundreds of dollars. In my economy, that's a good deal. Now, is it going to take some work? Yeah, it's going to take a lot of work. You know, I can even afford to package it up and send it back to Bachman and let them repair it. I'm not going to do that because, you know, part of my life after work is doing things, working the brain, working the hands, you know, doing all that. And it really is worth it to me. So I'm going to get into a few more of the things that I purchased and how much I paid versus how much they sell for today and what I'll have to do to get them up to speed. Now, as far as that Deadwood Central, I'm going to have to replace the motor. The top that's come loose, it's metal, by the way. That cab is metal. This is a high-end model. It snaps back in. They just didn't want to work at it, whoever had it. The opening at the front of the smoke box that's loose, one little piece of tape around that and push it in. I'm not going to glue it in, and just push it in, and that's enough. It's just loose, so it comes loose. So I'll thicken up those tabs a little bit and push it in. Job done. That's about all that needs to be done to this locomotive, and I will have a very, very nice, very high-end locomotive. The tender I've not got into yet. The lights, I don't know if the lights work or not, but all of that stuff is easily repairable. And then I can upgrade it with sound cards, DCC, whatever I want to in the future. As far as the logging cars go, those skeleton cars, they're all complete. They're just like they came out of the box. All I have to do is detail them. And I've got some chain. I'm gonna, you know, rust up some small chain, get a few logging parts, you know, that clamp it down or appear to clamp it down, and really bring it up to, you know, what most railroaders want. I'm not into weathering. Someday maybe, but I'm not into weathering, so I won't do that. But I'll clean all that up, get all the dust off of it, because I have a feeling it was sitting out on a display for the most part, because it doesn't look like it's been run on tracks. So that's about all that needs to be done with that, and I will get to that after the Bumblebee. Now let's move on and let me cover a few more items. Okay, I'm going to make another clarification now. I said I paid $30 a piece for these locomotives. I've already told you the deal I made on the Deadwood Central. What I did was take every single locomotive that I have, and that's not just what I have on display up here. I've got a number of them in storage. I added up the number of total pieces. That's rolling stock, locomotives, tenders, cabooses, all of it. I took the total price I paid for all of those, and I divided it by those number of pieces. And I came to, I said $30. It was $31.17 when I went back and redid it. $31.17. That's for everything. A boxcar for $31.17. A locomotive, $31.17 on average. That includes what I paid, the $14 for my Deadwood Central. It includes what I paid for my Christmas trains, my passenger cars, everything. So I don't want to mislead anybody that you're going to go out and find a locomotive and tender for $30. You're not going to do it. And what's more, the ones I've seen now on eBay, now 11 years later, if you can find what you want, and I've been trying to find a White Pass and Yukon Railroad 460. I like the 460s. And I thought I had one. We've not been able to find it. I went out looking on eBay and haven't been able to find one for sale anywhere. And I want one of the old ones, 10, 15 years old. I'll upgrade it. One thing I didn't mention before was that when I told you I bought the chassis for $55 for the Bumblebee, I bought two more $55 chassis so that I can upgrade my locomotives to virtually brand new, just what they're selling today. And I'll show you some of the prices that you have to pay today. And this is G scale for the most part. It's G scale, not F scale. G scale comes in several scales. If you go back and look at my scale presentation, you'll see that I've listed all the scales. G scale is very strange. It's got like 3 or 4 different scales. F scale has one. That's 1 to 20.32. Or I think most people just call it 1 to 20.3. Okay, a little OCD. You do the math, that's what it comes out to. So anyway, I don't care at this point. They use the same track. If you go standard gauge in either one, you'd have to have the third track that I've got on the other side of the table over here, because it's simply wider, and they don't make that track commercially, except for Cumberland Engineering Model Works. I hope I got that right. So here we go. Let me put a few samples up of what you're going to pay today if you get into large scale modeling. All right, what you're looking at here is a catalog scan that I did that basically, well, that was rude. Let me move my drink. My mom always taught me that if you're going to drink in front of people, bring enough for everyone. So here we go. What you'll see here is a Bumblebee with a short caboose. This is the C16. You can tell it's got the 2 compressors, etc. This is a 280 instead of a 460. So why am I showing you that? I'm showing you that because that's one I'd like to have. But now I'm going to scroll up. It's got everything. NMRA, NEM, DCC, RC, all of the extras, everything you could possibly want. Now, I'm going to mess with the camera. Hang in there with me. You see that? $1,699 each. Again, you may get that from some dealer for less than $1,699. Well, I'm not going to spend that much money anyway. So what have I got? If I don't have a C16, but it's a Bumblebee, what Bumblebee do I have? So here we go. Let me back out and I'll show you the train that I have. This locomotive intender here is the 460, but it's built in the anniversary edition style. It's got all the piping that you'll see here. It's got all the detailing, extra metal work. It's got the chassis that's got all of the drive works and everything that is up to date and modern. It's already DCC ready, sound ready, the whole shooting match. Now, you'll notice, whoops, let me just hold it right here. You'll notice that this is the anniversary edition. All of these trains on this page are based on this model right here. I have that on my shelf right behind me. I got that one in my $31.17 price range years ago. So I'm good with that. The chassis that I'm going to put on mine is a 15-year-old locomotive. I got it in that $31.15. I don't know exactly how much I paid for that individual one as I sit here, but it went into that average. Now let me take you over here, scroll you up, and zoom you in. Okay. These are $489 each, new today. Well, I don't want to spend $489 now. You know what I paid for my locomotive. You know it's out of date. The top of it, the boiler, the smoke unit, all that stuff, those are the same. They're just the same as they were back then, except for the detailing. So I bought the chassis, and I'll go ahead and turn you around, and we'll get right into the chassis. Right there. And I've already started doing a little bit of work. So right here, this is my new chassis. It is the anniversary edition chassis. You can tell by the yellow tops on the steam chest that it goes for the Bumblebee. This fits the Bumblebee I just showed you that they want $500 for. Okay, $489, sorry, but by the time you pay shipping, by the time you pay Tennessee taxes, it's going to be over $500. This was $55. Each one of the ones I bought was $55. I not only is it just $55, I actually got this as a part. I didn't pay hardly any tax for it. Certainly not. I mean, it's by percentage, so it's a percentage of 55, not a percentage of 489. Plus, it's didn't cost as much in shipping as if I had the entire tender, locomotive, etc. I already have this locomotive. It's out of date, but I'm going to make all the brass detailing. It's got some brass detailing, but I'm going to make the brass detailing for the other side. This one only has the one switch. I'll show you. It's got one switch for smoke unit. It's not high enough in the range to actually have that NMRA DC switch that goes in here. Well, this train comes with both switches, the smoke unit as well as the switch for the speed unit. So when I put this on, I'll get to use both of those on this one. Zoom in a little bit more. You heard this one run, I believe, in a previous video, and it ran okay, but it was a little noisy. That's because it's got the old technology in the drivetrain, 15-year-old technology. Now, this is smooth, it's even. I've lubed it up. It's actually in very, very good condition. So you can see what you're going to get with this locomotive is much smoother, very quiet. What you're hearing is coming from the sound in the old tender, and that'll get upgraded. This is going to get moved over to this body, then that body is going to be upgraded with all the modern details that I get out of the pictures in the catalog. And since it's anniversary, I'm going to copy my anniversary that I have on the shelf behind me. All I have to do is bend some wire, glue it on. Well, yeah, that's easy to say, but it's going to be some work, and it's going to take some thought and some care to make sure I get it right, because I want it to be right. If I do this right, I can actually upgrade other parts of this. For instance, this is supposed to be a door that opens up and allows the heat to go out. I can loosen this up. I did it on the one I took apart in my last video. I can put it on homemade hinges and have it open so it'll be articulated. There's a lot of things I can do to upgrade this. And in the end, keep in mind right now, on average, from all my locomotives, with $55 here and the $31 there, that's $86. Well, that's $86 versus $489. Now, that economy won't work out for everybody because I bought these a long time ago, but you need to think about it and look at what it costs new and see if you can't spend a little bit of your own time, and instead of $489, maybe you can get it for $199 if you're willing to put in some work. So there's a lot of economy to doing this, and I have some other prices to show you that will explain why doing this on average the way I did and buying them in lots and groups from estate sales and eBay and etc., how much money I've already saved. Okay, I think I'll probably pass this off to another video. We may do a little bit more of the economics of large scale locomotives. But I want to finish this video by saying to all of my friends doing smaller scales, I don't care if it's O scale, 00, HO, whatever. If you look in your scale, if you look at your modeling arena, you may be able to find some pretty good deals. Just don't pass them off. For instance, I can get a locomotive for $30. Well, that's not going to be a good deal. Well, how many parts are you going to get for $30? How much are you going to have to spend to fix it? How much cleaning up are you going to have to do? Some of these models come grimy. I've cleaned up some of mine. They were sitting out on shelves on display for Lord only knows how long. And they were grimy. But you know what? When I cleaned them up, got me some cotton buds, what we call Q-tips, some cleaning materials. When I was finished, they looked brand new. So that takes a little effort. I would much rather, and this is me, I would much rather bring as much back to life today than to see it go in a landfill or, just go away. And it usually is landfill. People just throw things in the garbage in America, which drives me insane. To all my friends out there, to all my subscribers, take a look at the economy of don't send it to recycling, you recycle it. You take it in hand, fix it up, find out what it takes to make it better. It's not going to be free, but it will be yours. So I think I'll go ahead and put this video out, and then we'll get back to the Bumblebee. I know you see it behind me, and yeah, there's all kind of options. Looking forward to this. This is going to be fun.